Every time I hear the song, I get excited. I don't know why. I guess because it means it's showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, for watching, for being a part of what's going to happen today. It's the What's on Sports podcast being brought to you live on Facebook, being brought to you live on YouTube, and perhaps being downloaded in some of your favorite podcast places like Apple iTunes. Links in the description. My name is John Todora. I'll be your host today, and joining me will be a cavalcade of friends and family. We're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff. I was going to do the show all by myself today. I wrote the show. I laid it out. I'm doing it by myself. We started with a conversation in the office. I said, you know what? Everybody's coming on the show today. Everybody from the What's on Sports team is going to come on the show, or at least some of the people. We're going to talk about some of these things together. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that our show today is being brought to you by our friends over at Sports Trading Systems. If you'd like to learn how to trade sports just like other people trade stocks, you can go over there and learn how algorithms and back-tested historical data can help you start to make money and possibly change your lifestyle by using sports as a trading system. It's amazing. Go over to sportstradingsystems.com. We already have our first frowny face here. Somebody's unhappy with us. I don't know what we did wrong, but somebody's upset. If you guys would like to leave any comments along the way, we do participate. For those of you watching and viewing live, you can leave a thumbs up. You can leave a thumbs down. I guess you can leave an angry face there. Someone's angry about me or something. It's amazing. I've gotten 2 minutes and 8 seconds into a show, and I've already pissed somebody off. Must be a Chiefs fan. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about a lot of things today. We have a huge show planned for you. One of the things we're going to talk about is Russel Wilson. Russel Wilson recently came out with a video that really upset me, and apparently upset some other people too. So we're going to be talking about that. We'll be talking about who's going to make the playoffs and who's not. The AFC is incredibly complicated right now, and the scenarios are very, very difficult to kind of work your way through. Michael Schussler will be joining us later on to talk about that. Then we're going to have Lance Fernandez join us and talk to us about our Jackwagon of the week. One guy every week does sometimes it's a girl. I don't want to be sexist here. One guy or some girl every week. By the way, the trans are also included here. Somebody usually pisses us off every week. That's what it is. He, she, it, they, blue people, yellow people, the transgender panda. Anybody can make us upset. That person could become the Jackwagon of the week. We'll talk about who that is today. Then we'll play a game called Who Would You Rather, which is one of my favorite games. I won last time, total domination. I am the champion of Who Would You Rather. I don't think anybody can beat me. You're welcome to stick around and try. Then we're going to dive into our mailbag, and then we're going to do some New Year's resolutions because I have a good one for myself. Hopefully you guys have something you'd like to share with us during the show as well. Now, before we go any further, there was something that happened. I was going to play the clip. I was going to let you guys kind of see what happened so you can make your own opinion. But instead of doing that, I'm going to bring the guys on and talk about this because we started having a conversation before the show started, and I thought the conversation was an interesting one, and I thought it was interesting enough to bring everybody on board on the show early and talk about it. So let me lay out what we saw here. Russel Wilson, who I consider to be the second most produced and fake individual in sports, second most, only to LeBron James. I apologize. I got my thoughts confused. Only to LeBron James, who I happen to think is the most produced and most fake person in sports. I believe that Russel Wilson is number two. Russel Wilson came out with an Instagram video, a highly produced Instagram video. It's him walking out on the field in Seattle. He's wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey. He starts talking about the last game they played, how they had the Mamba mentality, and about how everything that he did this season was because of Kobe and because of this. And he starts talking about Kobe, and he starts talking about Gigi. And I take this personal. Incredibly personal. And as I said before the show, this is like your friends on Facebook who talk about their dog dying or their great Uncle Joe, and they put a picture of the dog or the picture of Uncle Joe when they were 8 years old, and they say, oh my God, my uncle died. And then we have to respond by saying, I'm so sorry for you. And I don't think that's fair. It's not a fair position to put people in because I'm not really sorry for them. I mean, I feel some sympathy, but I don't know Uncle Joe. I never met your dog, and I don't know what it is I'm supposed to say here, but I'm supposed to say something. Russel Wilson has put all of us in the same position again. He wants us to give him some attention. So today, that little prick gets our attention. Joining me on the show right now, Michael Schussler, the fantasy god himself, and Lance Fernandez, who formerly used to work at Burger King, but now works for us here at What's on Sports. Actually, he used to work for Fox Sports, but it's the same thing.
Oh, Burger King.
Guys, how are you?
They do have a lot in common. I'm doing well, John. Hey, it's good to see Jack Sparrow back in the comments there.
What do you say?
He said if you really mention Gianna, that draws the line. Which
he did.
Yes, of course he did. And to your point, John,
wasn't it Gigi? Wasn't his daughter's name Gigi though?
That's like her nickname. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But no. To your point, it's cringy. It truly is, and it does. It is reminiscent of someone whose dog dies, and then on Facebook they have a picture of the dog, and then it's like a selfie. Like it's like, here's me in my funeral garb, and there's my dead uncle in the back, but it's really a selfie of me, just so you can see what I was wearing.
It's about me,
of course, like everything is in this time, and it is a shame. And social media is a cesspool of vanity. And I think Russell Wilson has fallen victim to that as well. It's really hard when you have a pop star wife and some who knows what kind of producer or like some sort of persona that he's trying to, his Mr. Unlimited persona. It truly just is cringy, and I don't think anyone needs to see that. Lance,
and my difficulty with it is it's almost like it's like LeBron James. If you spend enough time listening to anybody, you will eventually not like them. It's very rare that you can find a personality that you listen to enough that you think to yourself, oh, I'd like to hang out with this guy. Less is more when you're talking about personalities, when you're talking about celebrities, when you're talking about sports athletes. The more you expose me to who you truly are, the less I will like you. I now no longer like LeBron James. I have grown to very much dislike that man.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson is only second, and after this, he's climbing. So I can't believe that somebody would do this and say this is a great idea. They followed him. They followed him on the field. He purposely put on the jersey and said, "I'm going to go out and do this." And this guy's out of his goddamn mind. Lance?
Yeah. Go ahead, Lance.
Nice. Lance is going with the silent treatment. Hang on, Lance. Lance, start again.
Sorry.
You can't unmute the guests because they chose to mute themselves. There you go.
All right. So differentiate LeBron James, separate the player from the media mogul. The player is okay. The media mogul is somewhat craving too much attention already. But with regard to Russell Wilson, the video first and foremost is 7 minutes long. You don't need that long of a video. I mean, a picture would be enough of a tribute if it's really sincere about Kobe Bryant. And let's face it, you could count basically by one hand how many times they've interacted together. I mean, they're not really close buddies. You wouldn't put Russell Wilson in the same breath as Kobe Bryant as close buddies. Their wives do, but Kobe Bryant and Russell Wilson are not that tight. So that's an issue for me. If you really wanted to pay tribute to Kobe, a picture would be enough with a lengthy caption that comes from the heart, but not a video like this. Because, yes, he is wearing Kobe Bryant's jersey, but it's 7 minutes of his face.
That's a good point, Lance. No, let's be careful about assuming the relationship that Kobe and Russell had. We have no idea. Okay, obviously their wives are close. So I would assume that they've been to more than a handful of, dinner parties or double dates or what have you, whatever celebrities in Los Angeles do. However, the video is so overproduced and it's so premeditated that it loses all of its authenticity, if it ever had any at all. And that's where it really loses me with the production behind it.
Listen, part of life that we all lose somebody along the way, and that is supposed to be a private experience. I've lost people along the way that I won't mention right now because it's my private experience. I'm certain that you guys have as well. People lose things. You lose dogs. You lose friends. You lose family members. You lose your father. You lose your mother. It happens. It's not a good part of life. No one's excited about it. It's also no one's goddamn business. And it's never okay, in my opinion, to take something like that, like Russell Wilson did, and to take it and to try to commercialize it on your Instagram page. That's not a tribute. That is a moment of you saying, look at me. Look at me. I need your attention right now. And since I'm not getting enough because I'm not playing at a level that gives me that type of attention, I'm going to use the death of my friend, no matter how close they were, close, not close, I don't care. I'm going to use the death of my friend to put the focus and the spotlight on me. Michael, one more for you.
I would just say that it is more appropriate, let's say, for probably LeBron to do something like this, and which he did, but he also did it, in January when Kobe tragically died. I mean, and that was just so much more appropriate than to do it almost a year later. Like it seems so out of place. It seems out of touch. But I will give credit to LeBron because obviously he and Kobe seem to have much more in common than him and Russell, but I also want to be careful in assuming that. LeBron James, by the way, John, this will probably make you mad. I bet LeBron James will be president of the United States one day. I think you will.
But it's a bold statement, huh?
He's off the show. That's what I actually thought about that. that was absolutely terrible. I'm going to let you back in, but don't say stupid shit anymore, okay?
I'm just saying it's
For
possible.
you, so you're kicked off.
God damn! One day is going to be part of that. That's insane to me.
Let's hear his case. Why?
Well, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's a very
Love that movie.
Me too. And humanity, America especially, is kind of falling into this technology. We're devolving, it seems, and that's the point of Idiocracy, is that when things become too advanced, you start to devolve instead of evolve. And I'm just saying that I could see it. I could see LeBron James using his platform, using his social media and all of his followers to. We already had one celebrity president. Why not have another? I'm not saying I'd vote for him. I'm saying it's possible that he is out there as the president. And that's all I'll say.
I say give me The Rock.
Oh, love
Give me The Rock.
Yeah, love The Rock as president.
We're going to get political. At least we'll get some cool workout videos. Lance, we're going to bring you back on the show. Lance is all for The Rock. Lance, we'll bring you back on the show in a little bit. Right now, though, we're going to talk about some stuff that I find to be incredibly important to me because this is about the AFC playoff picture. Yes. I mean, it is so incredibly convoluted right now. It's really hard to find our way through it, but Michael's been doing the research. Michael's been doing the work. Let me just set this up for everybody right now. There are 5 teams in the AFC with the exact same record. 5 teams with the exact same record. The Titans, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Colts are all at 10-5. Now, right now, a division leader is the Titans. The Titans are the division leader of their division. The Colts and the Titans are in the same division. The Colts are currently on the outside looking in, and the teams that are on the inside right now are the Dolphins with the first seed, wild card seed, that is. The Ravens have somehow come back and gotten themselves the second wild card seed, and the Browns have the third wild card seed. Now, I know that's very confusing, but I put the graphic up so everybody could see it and see what's going on for those of you watching live. And now Michael, who's been actually trying to figure this out for the last 3 days, says he has cracked the code and he has figured it all out. So, Michael, please help the rest of us because I can't figure it out.
Well, no, it's confusing, but it's also extremely exciting, and it's going to make Week 17 of the NFL, which can sometimes be a bit boring. It's going to make it extremely entertaining, I think.
Yeah,
and I love it for that reason. So let's start with my Baltimore Ravens. Okay, now Baltimore Ravens 10-5, currently in the wild card spot. If the Ravens win, they are in. If they take care of business like they should against the 4-10-1 Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, the Ravens are in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. Win and they're in. However, if the Ravens lose, they would also need the Cleveland Browns to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they would need the Indianapolis Colts to lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Actually, they would just need either one of those two to lose. So if the Ravens lose, they need either the Browns or the Colts to lose, as the Ravens have the tiebreaker over both of those teams. Okay. Here's where it gets a little more complicated. If the Ravens end with a tie, if they tie the Bengals, then they would need the Dolphins to lose, or the Tennessee Titans to lose, or the Cleveland Browns or Indianapolis Colts to lose. Does that make sense?
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The Ravens, let's say the Ravens lose.
Okay.
Let's just say the Ravens lose.
Yeah.
And let's say Tennessee loses.
Okay.
Who makes the playoffs?
If the Ravens lose and Tennessee loses, that means that, well, it's not that easy because then it would actually depend on what Cleveland, Indianapolis, and who's the other team that's in there?
The Browns.
And the Browns, right? No, I said Cleveland. It's Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Cleveland, Indianapolis,
Miami
and Miami.
It won't matter what happens to the Dolphins. But so that's a little too complicated. Let's simplify it. You're saying if Baltimore loses, then the only way that they can get in is with a Browns loss or a Colts loss. Okay?
Wow.
That's it.
I tell you, when you talk about the lack of parity in the NFL this year, and we've had this discussion before about how in many years before you never know who was going to win. You could always count on a few underdogs coming in. And this year you haven't seen that. Yeah. The parity that you do not see this year is reflected in the records that you are going to, and the records that you're actually going to be seeing going into the playoffs right now. Like, when was the last time you can recall in any division having a team 15-1, two teams 13-3, and 3 or 4 teams possibly 11-5, like all making the play? All these teams are just so incredibly like unbalanced, in my opinion. Like there's the cream has risen to the top this year better than ever before because, and this is an opinion, but I think COVID has left people in a position where the best coaches have made their way to the top. Your Harbaughs, your Tomlins, those guys were able to somehow get their team ready and able to participate, which is also shocking that the greatest coach of all time, quote unquote, Bill Belichick, was completely unable to get his team ready. So it is a little weird to me.
That's a great point. And I think to that point, COVID did, like I said, there was a lack, no training camp, and then no preseason. So a real lack of practice and familiarity with a lot of these teams who have new quarterbacks or young quarterbacks. And I think the empty stadiums give the experienced field managers like your Aaron Rodgers, your Drew Brees, your Patrick Mahomes, it gives them, even Tom Brady, it gives them even more of an advantage because they are just able to hear and command the entire thing. So that, I think, explains a little bit of the parity, but it certainly is evident here. All right, so that's
and one of the things you really didn't mention, though, is the fact that there's been a lack of practice as well. These guys aren't actually practicing. So the older teams, I think, have done a little better with being able to wrap their head around concepts over a Zoom meeting than some of the younger teams have.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. So, all right, that takes care of the Baltimore Ravens, right? Does that make sense now, at least a little more?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. If the Cleveland Browns win, then they are in. Okay, the winning in for the Cleveland Browns against your Pittsburgh Steelers, who are not starting Big Ben. I think Mason Rudolph's going. I imagine a couple other starters are going to sit. I don't know why they'd really take James Conner out there with his injury history. So doors open for Cleveland. However, they are the Browns, and they lost to the Jets last week. They could brown it, pull a Browns, and lose somehow to Mason Rudolph.
Tragic.
Maybe if Myles Garrett, swings his helmet and knocks Mason Rudolph in. But here's the thing. So Cleveland wins, they're in. All right. Now, if Cleveland loses, they would need the Indianapolis Colts to lose. Or because if Cleveland loses and the Colts lose, Cleveland's in, Tennessee's out. I'm sorry, Indianapolis is out.
The Colts play the Jaguars, though, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So, that doesn't seem likely that the Colts will win. However, it's the NFL. Nothing's guaranteed. If the Cleveland Browns lose and Indianapolis wins, then the Cleveland Browns would need the Tennessee Titans to lose and the Miami Dolphins to win and the Baltimore Ravens to win.
Wow. What a mess.
It's a little bit of a mess for Cleveland. Although they are in control of their own destiny, as they say. Cleveland wins, they are in.
Well, just so everybody knows what's going on over the weekend too, the Dolphins play the Bills. The Bills don't have much to play for, but actually, no, the Bills do have something to play for, right? They have the second seed to play for. Correct?
Yeah, technically, they've already clinched their division. They could win the second seed, but the second seed isn't necessarily going to grant them home field advantage unless they were to meet the Pittsburgh Steelers later on. So they have something to play for. We'll see. I don't think they have decided whether they're going to play Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs or they're going to sit their starters. So we'll have to see what they decide here.
Right. Pittsburgh is playing the Browns. Pittsburgh has already decided they're not going to play Ben.
Right.
I don't know who else they're not going to play. Right. The Ravens seem to have an easy path through the Bengals. The Colts seem to have an easy path through the Jaguars.
You would think.
The Titans, however,
Okay.
The Titans, however,
Yes.
I mean, this doesn't sound like a hard one, but given the JJ Watt explosion that we just saw recently, the Titans have to play the Texans, and I that one makes me a little nervous.
Well, also Romeo Cromell said that if Deshaun Watson is healthy, he's playing, and he's going to go out there, and they're not playing for anything except, I guess, a little bit of pride here, which JJ Watt has, Deshaun Watson has. These guys are professional athletes, and I don't think JJ Watt is talking about Deshaun Watson. I would hope not. When he made those comments, being angry with his team. So the Titans situation is this: if the Titans win, they're in. All right, win and in for the Titans. If the Titans lose, they would also need the Indianapolis Colts to lose because they are both in the AFC South. They would then clinch the AFC South if both lose. Okay. If Tennessee ties, then they would also need the Indianapolis Colts to tie, as they would have the same record, and then the Tennessee Titans would again win the AFC South. Tennessee clinches if the Baltimore Ravens lose, if the Miami Dolphins lose, and if the Cleveland Browns lose. Any of those three teams lose, it doesn't matter what Tennessee does, they're in. Whether they win the AFC South or not, they'll either get their division or they will get the first wild card spot. Does that make sense?
I believe it makes sense. I believe you did a very good job of breaking that down. Ladies and gentlemen, he's usually our fantasy expert. Today we gave him probably the hardest task of the day, trying to figure out this cluster mess. Michael Schussler from What's on Sports. Michael, thank you so much for all the help, buddy.
Of course.
So did you guys know, and this isn't a political statement, did you guys know that in the most recent bill they signed, the coronavirus bill, and the omnibus that actually funds the government, that there was a provision in there that in 180 days they have to release to the public all the information that they know about UFOs? It has nothing to do with sports. I just found it to be incredibly interesting that we actually may find out about UFOs in 180 days from now. So there may be a second podcast we have to put together. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now, back on the show, one of my favorite writers of all time. This guy loves sports about as much as anybody does. You may have saw him earlier on the show, briefly combing his hair. He looks good. What is that, a brick background now? Lance Fernandez, how are you, buddy?
I am doing awesome, John. Advance Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Same to you, buddy. And I hope, I'm not sure how your 2020 was, but I could pretty much guess it was like everyone else's. I hope your 2021 is better than your 2020.
Thank you, John. Same to you as well. Yeah, less shit and more progress.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about something that we do over on What's on Sports. Once a week, we try to pick out one sports figure. It could be a man, woman. It could be anybody. We'll even take children. If they do something bad, something irritating, something annoying, we will point that person out and say, hey, look at this guy. This guy has done something that makes him into what we call the Jackwagon of the week. And then we'll choose a writer, and the writer will normally write something that is not very nice about this person. Now, I believe you've written the last few Jackwagon of the weeks, have you not?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so you are Mr. Jackwagon. So who is this week's Jackwagon of the week?
Yeah, before I reveal that, so I enjoy criticizing Jackwagons because it's always nice to criticize millionaires because that's the only thing that you can say negative about them. But anyway, the Jackwagon of the week was once regarded as a genius, a master of a game, an innovator. But recently, he is threading the line between genius and stupidity. And we're talking about Las Vegas Raiders head coach Jon Gruden.
Amazing. You know, as you've been watching the Raiders absolutely, like, completely fall apart over the last half of the season, you have to wonder how much longer Jon Gruden's rope is. And with weeks like this week where he did some really, really dumb stuff that maybe for those of the people that have not been paying attention would like to tell about what happened this weekend with Jon Gruden.
Okay, so they had a chance to score a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. So they were against the Miami Dolphins. So they were at the first and goal situation. And all they had to do was to punch the ball through the end zone. So
just
first
score.
down, just score 6. First down, they gave the ball to Jacobs. He ran, he slipped, but he still gained yardage. Same thing happened second down. He ran, he slipped, and then he gained some yardage. So they were closer. They were just like 2 or like 3 yards from the end zone. So why not punch the ball through and score 6 points and put more pressure to the Dolphins to score a touchdown for them to win the game? Instead, Jon Gruden, because he is still the head coach, even though the special teams coach would have a hand in this, he let the clock melt. They let the clock melt down to be able to kick a field goal to gain a paltry 2-point lead. Now, you'd rather have score 6 points rather than 2 because we all know what happened now. Fitzmagic happened because they were banking on the fact that, hey, if we pin them deep into their territory, they might not be able to drive enough yards to be in field goal range. But as always, in any sport, especially in football, it's not over until you see triple zeros on the clock, and that's exactly what happened. So Fitzmagic, again, sprinkled his pixie dust over the field, threw that pass, and of course, one of the secondary defenders for the Raiders blew coverage as well. And then after that pass, there was this face mask penalty that added 15 yards to that game. And suddenly, with just one stroke of luck of magic, the Dolphins are in field goal range and has an opportunity to win the game because the Raiders were only leading by 2. Kick the field goal, 1 second left in the game, Dolphins still alive in the playoffs, while the Raiders have an early vacation.
Yeah, listen, that throw by Fitzpatrick was it's not getting enough credit. It's quite possibly one of the greatest throws in NFL history. If you saw the way his neck was twisted back, if you saw the way he literally couldn't even see where he was throwing it, how his body was contorted, how he was able to get that ball off somehow, landed right inside that little covered 2 zones available just along the sideline. It's got to be, that ranks up there with the Eli Manning throw against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I've got a bunch of friends that are Miami Dolphin fans because I lived in Miami for a while. They were all going crazy about it. And it never would have happened. It never would have been possible if they would have just punched the ball in the end zone. We saw a situation similar to this earlier in the year with Atlanta. Atlanta did the same thing, ended up with the same result. You would think that somebody like Jon Gruden would be able to figure that out. But Lance, I think when you have somebody that is considered to be like, by somebody like you consider him to be a superstar, when you consider that guy to be that good, I think that guy, I don't want to be too down on him, but I think that guy starts to feel like he's got to make a move like that. He's got to do something great. He's got to do something amazing. And what happens is what we see. That was a horrible mistake that cost them a victory. I think you deserve some applause for picking out Jon Gruden as the Jackwagon of the week. His name is Lance Fernandez, and he's one of our head writers over at What's on Sports. Now, listen, I'm going to bring Lance back here in a second, but I want to remind everybody before we go any further, our show today is completely sponsored by our friends at Sports Trading Systems. Now, the NFL season is almost over, but we still have the playoffs coming up. And more importantly than that, basketball season is in full swing. And last year, Sports Trading System was able to bring home almost 180% returns off of the smallest investment possible for an entire season of NBA play, basketball. Now, that may not sound like a lot to the average gambler, but to the average investor, to be able to invest, say, $1,000 and end up with almost $3,000 at the end of just 4 months, it's an amazing opportunity. So I'd like you guys to go over and visit our friends at sportstradingsystems.com. That's sportstradingsystems.com. They're the sponsor of today's show, and they'll go over and teach you lots of really good stuff. Here's a comment from the Peanut Gallery. It says that Gruden signed a 10-year, $100 million contract. Unlike players, coaches are given fully guaranteed contracts. Means that he'll get paid for the duration of the contract, even if he gets canned. That's absolutely right. It was quite possibly one of the most ridiculously stupid contracts that we've ever seen to give somebody. Now, I understand that you think somebody's good and you want to put that type of commitment in there, make them feel like that they can stick around and be a part of what's going on, but and build a culture around this guy. But Gruden had not coached for, I believe, 10 years. So you took him out of the booth. The game may or may not have passed him. He may or may not be treating this a lot more like a lot of people would criticize, and I don't mean to be political, but a lot of people would criticize Donald Trump in the way that he would govern, because a lot of what he did was made for TV type of things. And, like it or not, it definitely built Trump a following. Gruden, on the other hand, may or may not be growing that same type of following with his players. I have not spent enough time interviewing or talking to Las Vegas Raiders players to know if that culture has grown around him or not. But I can't imagine that in a culture that's supposed to be about team, that it's really, really working out for him that way. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine he's preaching team, making himself into the superstar, and then somehow getting people to follow him along. I don't know. All right. It's actually time for a little more fun right now. We're going to do something really interesting. This is one of my favorite segments of the entire week because I win normally. And that's usually why it's one of my favorite segments. I am actually going to be a participant in this segment. I'm just one of the guys in this segment. And Michael Schussler's come back on the show because he is going to be the host of a game we call Who Would You Rather? And I'm going to play against Lance, who I absolutely positively destroyed last week. I'm not bragging. I'm being humble about the entire experience, but it was embarrassing. So, Michael, would you please explain the show to our friends at home?
All right. John, you only won once, so let's pump the brakes here on your goat of Who Would You Rather.
Hang on. How many times have we played?
We've only played once.
And how many times did they win?
You're 1 for 1.
I 1 for 1. That is an incredible winning percentage.
It is. Let's see if you can keep it up, because I have 9 questions for you today, for both of you.
9.
Yeah, 9.
That's more.
That's more. No, we can cut it down. We can cut it down if it's getting too long. But the object of the game, I will present both John and Lance with a Who Would You Rather question, and then they will give me their answer, and then I get to decide who had the better answer, and I will award them 1 point for answer.
I'm ready.
All right, everyone. People watching at home, feel free to comment your answer and briefly explain why. Or you could even comment on why you like John's answer, or why you like Lance's answer, and why you think they should get the point. Doesn't mean they will. It's all up to me. Here we go.
That seems unfair.
First question. It is little. Who would you rather start at quarterback for your squad in Week 17? Brandon Allen or CJ Beathard?
Who's first?
John, you go ahead.
Well, look, I'm gonna go with Allen, and quite simply because he's got weapons. Cincinnati actually played really well the last couple of weeks with him as the quarterback, and that team is starting to feel like, you know what, we can do some things on offense that maybe we didn't think we could do without our rookie star quarterback. They're starting to realize that is a system that they can work around, and the team itself is feeling a lot more confident than it was. So I'm not just going to go with the fact that I like the quarterback. I'm going to go with the fact that I like the scenario. He's got the weapons. He's got an offense that looks like it's purring along, and they're able to run the ball a little bit. So if you're asking me who I'd rather have in the scenario, I'm going to say Allen.
Lance.
Okay, on the contrary, I would rather go with CJ Beathard.
Wrong.
So he has proven that he does have the experience, and he has won recently. So scenarios may be good, but I'd rather have someone who wins. And CJ Beathard has proven recently that he is a winner with the recent win of the 49ers against the recent opponent, the Cardinals.
Give me the point.
Those are both good points. I do have to go with John because Brandon Allen almost threw for 400 yards last week. All right.
Yes.
He was lighting it up a little bit on those Houston Texans. So
I love this game because there are no right answers. There's only good explanations.
That's right. But Lance, you're still right there. You're right there. All right. But that's 1 point for John. All right.
It's 1 for me.
Next question. Who would you rather see win the NFC and the Super Bowl this year? Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, or Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Lance, you first.
Okay, so this will be a sentimental pick. I'd rather have Drew Brees win the NFC to have one more shot in the Super Bowl because, let's face it, doesn't have much years left, and he just had rib injuries, and we don't know how the recovery period is going. He is playing right now, but we're not sure how fully recovered he will be after this season, if there will be another season after this. So this could be the last hurrah for Drew Brees. So I'd rather have him hoist the NFC trophy and, if possible, win a Super Bowl and then ride off in the sunset.
All right, well, I'm going to go through a process here that's going to give us an answer, and the process is actually very simple. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take Tampa out of the equation. If Tampa were to win, it would be a bad precedent for the rest of the NFL because Tampa would have purchased a championship. They paid for a quarterback. They paid for a tight end. They brought some guy out of prison to play wide receiver. They have done everything possible to try to build that team through as much money as they could spend. And people forget that they spent a bunch of money on LeGarrette Blount to come in. I'm not LeGarrette Blount.
Leonard
from Jacksonville. I forgot his name.
Leonard
Yeah, Fournette. I was calling him LeGarrette Blount. Same kind of runner. They spent a bunch of money on Fournette to come and be their backup running back. So let's throw them out of the equation. Now let's down to New Orleans and Green Bay. New Orleans, I love New Orleans. I love the way New Orleans is put together. I love the way New Orleans has structures themselves. The only problem I have with New Orleans is that their quarterback has stayed a little bit too long, and he's had his moment in the sun. People are always, and myself included, are always putting Aaron Rodgers in a possible greatest of all time conversation. He cannot be in that conversation until he wins another Super Bowl. He has to win at least 2 Super Bowls in order to be in that GOAT conversation, in my opinion. You can't go back and say Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback of all time. The guy went to 1 Super Bowl. So you got to give Aaron Rodgers another shot at the Super Bowl. That team is made to win today. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP of the NFL. So if you want me to pick one team, I'm going to say Green Bay. I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers. Booyah.
Although John's explanation was far too long, I will give him the point there because I agree. Probably
38 seconds
for that point. All right, John, he's up 2-0. Come on, Lance, you got this.
Oh, dominating.
Come on,
Just
Lance.
give
Yeah,
up
we're
now.
back.
All right. Same question, but for the AFC. Would you rather see Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills or Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and the Tennessee Titans win the AFC and the Super Bowl? John, you first.
I'm going to go first. Okay, so here's what I've been saying all along. I really like Buffalo. I really like what Buffalo's done. I like the team that Buffalo's put together. My problem with Buffalo is I believe they're too young and they don't have the experience. Now, would I like to see them go to the Super Bowl? I don't think the storyline's there. I believe the storyline is there for Ryan Tannehill. I believe the storyline is there for Derrick Henry. I believe you can look at that storyline and say to yourself, this is a guy that nobody wanted, talking about both of them. Nobody wanted Derrick Henry. They thought he was too tall. He ran too upright. He lasted all the way to the second round. And even then, they were like, maybe he'll be a complimentary back, more of a goal line guy, a little high to go in the second round. Tannehill was a washout in Miami. They literally threw that guy to the side. He signed with the Titans as a backup quarterback and somehow made his way all the way to the number 1 spot. Then you look at their coach. Nobody thought that guy could be a coach. He kicked around as an assistant coach for the longest time, doing tackling drills with his players. Everyone was like, he's a little too immature to be a coach. But you know what? All 3 of those guys have put together a great team there. They're a little weak on defense, but if you're asking me who I'd rather see make it to the Super Bowl, I'm going to say the Titans because they got some stories there.
Lance?
Okay, so this is the first time that I'm going to side on the same side, and I would have to choose the Titans. But for not the background reasons or the background story reasons, it would be nice for a pass-happy league to see a Super Bowl competitor that is run-heavy, that is a throwback to the old school of how football once was played. And it's more of the ground game, running
Just
game.
give my points.
And then some play action to be able to throw some passes. So if, for example, Tennessee would be able to win the Super Bowl, and given that the NFL is a copycat league, then that will be a testament for the other teams that maybe we also need a big back. So the big back revolution might come back if Tennessee will be able to reach the Super Bowl.
I do love that point, Lance. John, I would have given you the point because you brought up Mike Vrabel, who I absolutely love, but then you interrupted Lance. So that's
I didn't interrupt.
That's not a point.
I didn't interrupt.
I got a minus point, and that's how the game goes. It's still 2-0. You're still in this, Lance. You're still in this.
Yeah, still having
foul.
Still in this. 2-0. Next question. Lance, you're going to start with this. Don't interrupt.
Okay, let's go.
John, careful. Don't interrupt now. Who would you rather build an offense around? Jalen Hurts or Tua Tagovailoa?
I would have to pick Jalen Hurts because Tua Tagovailoa hasn't proven that he's willing to take risks during the passing game whenever there's a passing opportunity. He doesn't even throw long passes that much. So I'd rather have someone who can stretch the field both with his feet and with the long passes. And I believe that Jalen Hurts is that guy. Tua at times seems to be scared, seems to be frightened of taking turnovers or committing turnovers. That's why he's not willing to throw passes onto tight pockets and even make long bombs. So I'd rather have someone who has confidence from day one, rather, and I would rather have Jalen Hurts build my offense around him.
John.
So look, I'm actually going to agree with who Lance chose, but I'm going to do it for a different reason.
Okay.
I believe that Tua has been handed far too much in his life. He became the savior in Alabama. They gave him the starting job. They never looked back. He was the savior in Alabama who screwed up his hip, and they still drafted him 5th overall. Jalen Hurts is my kind of quarterback because he's my kind of guy, actually. That guy's been through a ton. He was in Alabama. They sat him in the national championship game, and he never got his job back. Then he had to go earn another job in another place where he played fantastically. Then they said, you're not a quarterback. Maybe you're like a gadget kind of guy. Maybe you're a wide receiver. You're a good enough athlete for us to take in the second round and kind of play around with, but you'll never be a great quarterback. In fact, we're going to draft you to a team that's already got a franchise quarterback. That's how little we think of you as a possible franchise quarterback. Well, you know what? Now he's a franchise quarterback. He's worked his way through adversity. He's got the team on his side. He's playing really, really well for a guy who's only played 3 games. If you want me to build around a team, I'd rather build around a real leader, someone who's been through adversity, someone who's been through the fire, came out the other side. Give me Jalen Hurts any day.
Those are both great points. Lance, you did bring up the confidence that Jalen Hurts have. I love that swagger. That is what you need in a quarterback. I don't see that with Tua. I don't get that just that leader attitude. So I'm going to give that point to you, Lance. It's 2-1.
Wait a minute. I said that.
No,
I
it's
said it
2-2.
after Lance. Lance already
Did
said it.
not say it after Lance. I said it before Lance. He just took my answer.
No,
But
he
you
answered
agreed.
first.
What's the score here?
It's 2-1. John is winning.
All
Here we
right.
go, Lance. All right. Who would you rather build a defense around? Aaron Donald or TJ Watt? And why? Lance, you first. Actually, John, you first.
Aaron Donald
Or TJ Watt.
or TJ Watt.
And don't be
Well, this is an
biased.
easy answer for me, but I will tell you this. You got to fix your camera. I don't know what the heck happened, but we're now looking at the wall.
My camera?
Yeah. Your camera's messed up. Let's add you back again. Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, you can fix it. I'm going to take Aaron Donald all day long. Aaron Donald to me is the most unstoppable beast in the NFL. There's no one like Aaron Donald. He's 285 pounds of shredded muscle. And not that there's not guys like that in the NFL, but he is someone you have to game plan around all the time because he comes up the middle. And most quarterbacks are gonna back up and they want space in the pocket. They don't want you at their feet. They don't want you falling around their knees. Aaron Donald comes right up the middle, gets right in your face. He's the most he's the biggest monster in the NFL in my opinion. And he's also younger. So if I could build around one guy, I would build around Aaron Donald.
Lance?
Okay, so I always treat defense correlated to attitude. Defense, although you should have talent, you should also have attitude. And I'd rather have TJ Watt over Aaron Donald because he brings the energy, he brings the intensity, he brings an extra swagger for the defense that rubs off to 10 other people on that side of the ball. So Aaron Donald, yes, he's great, but he's more of a silent type kind of worker. And he's leading by example. But sometimes you just have to pick up your teammates emotionally, especially when you're down or you're trying to catch up and you're trying to make a big defensive play. And that's where a TJ Watt comes in, bringing the intensity, bringing the energy, and then just giving the extra kick to make that big play, or be it an interception or a big stop. So I'd rather have TJ Watt leading my defense because of reasons beyond talent, more importantly, the intensity that he brings every time.
That was actually a good point.
That is a good point, Lance. It's tied up 2-2. Attaboy.
Finally, something that John agrees with me.
Yes.
Yeah, you
yes.
made one good point the whole time. I got to give it to you if you make a good point.
You did make a good point. John, you made a good
Thank
point
you.
about
Yep.
Aaron Donald being younger, and Aaron Donald is an absolute force. But I actually appreciate you, John, not siding with your boy TJ Watt. So that would have been nice, but still point to Lance. Now, the next question. Who would you rather ring in the new year with, have a beer with, and ring in the new year? Russell Wilson or Phillip Rivers? That's you first.
Okay, this is a difficult question, but I would still rather have a beer with. I would still rather have a beer with Russell Wilson. I know we just have discussed him and disgusted by what he did earlier, but with Phillip Rivers, if we'll have beer, we might have a Bible study afterward for like 3 hours. With Russell Wilson, if I get intoxicated and his wife gets intoxicated, I might get lucky. So I'd rather have Russell Wilson, a beer with Russell Wilson for God knows how many, and shoot my shot for all we know with his wife.
Hey, love it, Lance. All right, top that, John.
No, this is completely unfair. This was like he said something perverted, so you're going to love it. But here's the reality of it. And this is the truth. I would so much rather spend time with a guy like Phillip Rivers than I would with a guy like Russell Wilson, because I think Phillip Rivers, first of all, I'm not even sure if he drinks. So part of the fun for me would be like, just have one sip. Just try it. Just see if you like it. Just you want some wine? I'm sure Jesus blessed it. No, and the other thing would be, Phillip Rivers to me seems like a genuine person. That gummit, I'm not going to swear thing is a real guy thing. So for me, if I'm going to have a beer with somebody, I want to have a beer with a real guy. Russell Wilson is a fake person. Phillip Rivers is a real guy, a real dude. You could sit around, talk some football with, talk about some cool things about life, ask him some interesting stuff. And I don't think Russell Wilson would provide me with a real moment in the entire time we were sharing that beer. So if I have a choice, it's Phillip Rivers all the way.
Lance, while I do love the image of Russell Wilson, Sierra Menage a Trois there, I'm going to have to go with John because I would like to see what Phillip Rivers looks like, a little loosened up, couple of beers deep. I'd like to see, Phillip Rivers in that style. So John gets the point there. All right. Here is my last one, though.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I have a couple more, but this will be the last one unless we have more time. All right, so you're out, you're drinking your beer with Phillip Rivers, okay? Yeah. So who would you rather, babysit for you while you're out partying on New Year's Eve? Would you rather have Tyreek Hill or Antonio Brown?
Oh, God. Jesus.
One of them's got to house sit and babysit your kids for you. Which one?
My God. Who's first?
You go first. I got first last.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nobody wants to answer this one. I'm gonna say I'm gonna let Uncle AB babysit the kids, and here's why.
Yeah. Because
before I leave the kids there, I'm gonna make sure that Uncle AB's pumped up on his antidepressants and is feeling kind of good. And then I'm only gonna go out for a little bit. Because I think the odds of me coming back and Tyreek Hill not breaking my kid's arm are probably pretty slim. But the worst thing AB is going to do is maybe get himself arrested. To my knowledge, he's never done anything that was physically harmful to his children. Now, emotionally, they're completely screwed. But, it's one night. How bad can you do with my kid?
Lance?
It's a terrible question.
Yeah, it's the hardest who would you rather question that I've ever heard of. But I would like my kids to grow tougher. I would like my kids to learn with every experience that they face. So I'd rather have Antonio Brown babysitting, and who knows what will happen. But at least at the end of the session, I would have kids that are fiercer, more confident possibly of who they are. And just smash mouth kids with that is tackling life's hardest problem. So I guess that experience will only come with Antonio Brown and not with Tyreek.
I knew you have to make a decision, Michael, but I think Jack Sparrow actually had the best The best answer from the chat. I'd rather hop on a time machine and just not have kids.
Jack Sparrow gets the point because that is correct. Why would either of you leave any of your kids with Tyreek Hill or Antonio Brown? That's just irresponsible. Come on.
More than fair.
That's just irresponsible.
More than fair. So what was the final score?
The final score is 2-2.
What?
But I do have one more. Final one, and we'll settle.
Okay, come on.
Okay,
Give me a shot at this. Give me a shot at
real
retaining my championship.
Here's a real one here. Who would you rather tackle? Derrick Henry or DK Metcalf? And why? Lance, you're first.
I would have to go with DK Metcalf because whenever you try to tackle Derrick Henry, it seems like a lot of your bones just crack and just gets displaced. And even if you try to tackle Derrick Henry, the stiff arm can get you. The stiff arm can break you, and you wouldn't have any luck. So DK Metcalf would be a better option to tackle.
All right, go ahead, John.
Okay, he's right and he's wrong. I would much rather tackle DK Metcalf. Now, both of these guys are physical freaks at their position. Both of these guys are probably about the same weight, about 240. But why would I rather tackle DK Metcalf than I would tackle Derrick Henry? It's really simple. It's all about science. Derrick Henry's going forward. DK Metcalf, more times than not, has to stop and catch the ball, which means that he will be either not moving or his back will be to me. So when I tackle him, it'll be much easier to tackle someone who's either not in motion, doesn't have a running head start, or had to stop, or is not looking at me. So my shots on Metcalf are going to be much cleaner and met with much less resistance than they'd ever be met with Derrick Henry, who's got a 3-yard head start coming out of the backfield. Championship.
I'm a little disappointed that neither of you took Derrick Henry. Like, where's your fighting spirit, boys? Where's your challenge? Yeah, I mean, come on.
Here's the challenge. After he took DK Metcalf, all I had to do was come up with a better answer than him, and I could win. That was it.
John gets the point. I'm sorry, Lance. John wins.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It's okay. Yeah, I love my life. That's why I wouldn't take Derrick Henry.
Do we have any championship music? That's not it. No, that's not it. No championship music. I need to get something that's like, oh my God, you're the champion. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was actually pretty awesome. Listen, I'm going to bring you guys back because we're going to do a New Year's resolution at the end. So I'll give you some time to think about your New Year's resolution, and I'm going to kick you off the show just for a second here because we're going to dive into our mailbag really quick. Each week we invite people to give us their questions over at our website, which is whatsonsports.com. And when they do, we jump in and we answer the questions to the best of our ability. Now, we also want to thank, before we go any further, our sponsor, sportstradingsystems.com, which I've mentioned several times throughout the show. But I want to thank the people that have listened to the show all year long. Now, on downloads, we have a couple thousand downloads a week for each show that we put out. And, you know, on the show, we'll have anywhere from 30 to 150, 200 people sometimes watching us between YouTube and Facebook on our live shows. For those of you that have watched, for those of you that have stuck around and commented and really become a part of the show, I'd like to thank you guys, because without people like Steve and Zach and I'm sorry, Jack Sparrow. I'm thinking of a movie name. Without Jack Sparrow, without you guys actually helping us and commenting throughout the way, the show probably wouldn't be the same. So I do want to thank everybody out there who has helped us to build this show into what it is. And we promise you that in 2021, we'll try to build it even better. Now, let's get to our questions really quick. Again, these all came off of our website at whatsonsports.com. If you have any questions you want to ask, go over there and ask them, and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. You have said that Aaron Rodgers should get consideration for MVP, but don't you think that Tom Brady should at least be in the conversation? That's the question. Here's the answer. The answer is, yeah, of course. There are a lot of guys that should be in the conversation. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is in the conversation. To me, at one point, I had said before, although I don't think he is anymore, Ben Roethlisberger was in the conversation. Derrick Henry should be in the conversation. I think Ryan Tannehill is part of a conversation that you have. I think Tom Brady is at least worthy of being part of the conversation. But when it really comes down to a final three people, my finalist for MVP, I don't think Tom Brady's even close to that. He's had a good year. He's had the year that we sort of expected from him. I don't think he's been the most valuable asset to that team. I think that team is just so filled with stars that every week somebody else kind of comes up and does something great. And Brady's been either very, very good or very, very bad. And I think that's true for most players. But when you're very, very bad to the point where people are saying you're done and you should retire, I find it hard to believe that you can still be involved in what we call a most valuable player of the year conversation. So no, Tom Brady would not be one of my finalists, but of course, he could probably at least be part of the conversation. Next question. With all the talk of Urban Meyer coming to the NFL, where do you think he fits best? I think Urban Meyer fits best on a NBC, CBS, ESPN, somewhere on a couch talking about football. Urban Meyer is a wealth of college football information. He's a wealth of football information in general, but you would have to search far and wide to find someone that's had the kind of success that Urban Meyer has had in the NCAA, two different programs, and find somebody that was able to make that jump to the NFL. It is an almost impossible jump to make. Jimmy Johnson is the only one that comes to mind. Barry Switzer made the same jump with a team that Jimmy Johnson had put together. But since those two coaches came from the NCAA to the NFL, no one has made the jump and made a championship. Urban Meyer in the college format has complete and total control over his entire program. He recruits who he wants. He had recruited who he wanted. He coaches the way he wants to. He's a dominant force in college football, as are most college coaches. That's why they have the trouble coming into the NFL, where they have to deal with an owner. They have to deal with the general manager. They have to deal with the fans. They have to deal with players that are in their 30s that don't want to listen. So where should Urban Meyer go next year? I think Urban Meyer should stay the hell home. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your money. Stay on TV. It's great to listen to you. If anything, if he's itching to coach, there is some powerful football team out there in the NCAA, maybe Michigan, looking to change up their coach, get some new recruiting going in. I think Urban Meyer should finish up his career, if he wants to, in college football. Last one. You seem really good at predicting shocking moments in sports. Who are your surprise teams in the NFL playoffs? I've mentioned this before, and I will mention it again right here. In the AFC, my surprise team is going to be the Titans. Now, I realize the Titans have not played very well at some points throughout the season, and they're in a precarious situation right now with probably the most difficult matchup on Sunday that actually will either put them in the playoffs or put them out. If they are able to beat the Houston Texans on Sunday, to me, they are one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL because they are built for the playoffs. They have a sled dog at running back. They can actually run the ball really, really well. He's a guy you don't want to. I stand corrected. Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's a good call, Steve. But he's one of those guys you don't want to tackle. Obviously, we just had a conversation on who would you rather tackle. I think Derrick Henry can do some real damage in the playoffs. So I would not want to face the Titans in the playoffs. In the AFC, I'm sorry, in the NFC, if there's going to be a surprise team over there, a team that really shocks everybody, a team that really surprises everybody, I would really go with Seattle. And Seattle's one of those teams that really had a lot of trouble getting it together on the defensive side of the ball. Couldn't run the ball very good at the beginning part of the year, but they're really peaking now. They suddenly have a pass rush that they didn't have before. They have a defense that can actually stop people or at least slow people down. And Russell Wilson is loaded. Russell Wilson has had up and down moments throughout the season, but if he can get hot, he's loaded at the offensive weapons position. They are actually running the ball now. So Seattle's my surprise team in the NFC. The Titans are my surprise team in the AFC. If they both make it, it might be the most boring Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls. That was that. Let's bring the guys back one more time. Guys, it's been fun so far this year. I know we're kind of new at everything we're doing, but before we wrap up the show today, I kind of wanted to hear your New Year's resolutions. And if anybody has a New Year's resolution in the chat that they would like to share with us, we'd love to hear it. So just type it in and we'll talk about it. Let's start with you first, Lance. What is your New Year's resolution?
Well, lose weight, number one. Obviously, that's first and foremost in the agenda. So we're gaining a lot of pounds, especially during the holiday season. So that's what we have to do first. Prioritize health, and then just keep on churning out quality articles for whatsonsports.com.
Look at you, Lance.
Such a suck up.
Uh,
Michael, what's your New Year's resolution?
my New Year's resolution is to drink more water, to read more books, and to write more poetry.
All at once?
Yeah, I mean, if I can, which I probably can.
All right. I don't have a New Year's resolution. I don't believe in them. I just wanted to see what you guys were going to say. I just had to wrap up the show and see if you guys were going to wear your hearts on your sleeves or not. I don't do the New Year's resolution thing because I feel like people make a New Year's resolution and then immediately like abandon it, quit it. Like so my New Year's resolution is to try to be better than I was last year. My same New Year's resolution I make every year. As I get older, I tend to fail more, but I will continue to try to be better than I was last year at everything that I do.
That's a complete cop out of an answer, but thank you.
It's all encompassing. It actually covers absolutely everything.
Yeah.
My name is John Todora. I've been your host today. Mr. Michael Schussler in the building. Say Happy New Year, Michael.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Lance Fernandez. Say Happy New Year's, Lance.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody as well.
All right. We are quite obviously taking the rest of the week off because we got some beer to drink. Me and Philip Rivers are going to be cracking open a cold one right after the show. We'll see you on Monday.